Hey guys, welcome back to another edition of StarCraft 2 Team Strategy. So this game we're going to be looking at how to stop cannon rushes, well in this case how to not stop cannon rushes because my partner's going to fail miserably. But what you are going to see is basically kind of the best course of action that you can take as Zerg partners. I mean, if you scout in time and you do a 10 pull, you might get lings out and you'll be able to stop the first cannon from getting up, or at least kill it before it kills more than like a couple lings. But in this case, the closest ally he has ends up getting a 14 pull, so his lings aren't out in time. So we ended up just doing a bunch of counterattacks. I'll explain what you want to do as a Terran player when you're getting cannon rush in this case. Cannon rushes are much more difficult to deal with in team because you're almost always forced to block off, in addition to making sure you deal with the cannon rush. And 1v1 dealing with the cannon rush isn't too hard, just because you don't have to worry about anybody else sending in units in to harass you while the cannon rush is taking place. So you can see you got a probe that's coming back here. Pretty common on this map for cannon rushes to take place in, one of two spots, either right here, or, if you're on the top of the map right there. And usually the outside players also sometimes get cannon rush from this spot as well. Alright, now at this point he should have been scouting in his base both right here and over along this side to check for a cannon rush. But as soon as he sees that, what you shouldn't be doing is you shouldn't be trying to get a reactor at this point, because this takes 50 seconds to build. He could have easily 2 Marines, maybe even 3 Marines out by the time the reactor is able to be useful at all. So if he has 2 Marines out, and he manages to keep this probe from building more than, say, 1 cannon back here, even this 1 cannon, he could have the Marines basically shoot it, and as long as his own bunker is going up, he's going to be able to defend his mineral line. Because the Marines are going to buy a little bit of time. 2 Marines will be able to destroy a cannon before it finishes, or like right as it finishes. As you can see, if that cannon was cancelled there as a result of 2 Marines shooting at it, these other cannons wouldn't have been up before the bunker was finished. So he would have been able to hold that. But in the meantime, we were just wreaking havoc with our lings, doing run-bys of the other bases, the ones who were undefended. Even did a little bit of a spine crawl rush up here. But that's kind of how not to hold a cannon rush as Terran. Fortunately, you can actually just lift off if you're Terran, but if the other team was being aggressive and they had early lings as well, then he would need a complete wall here for one thing. And of course a bunker, in or near your mineral line to stop other cannons from going up is also a good choice. Alright, next game we'll get into is actually how to effectively deal with cannon rushes, so you'll see from other races' perspective, not just from Terran. Alright guys, we're back for the second game here. In this case we're going to show you how to deal with cannon rushes as Protoss players. In my opinion, Protoss has the most difficult time trying to hold cannon rushes because they can't wall off as easily as the other races, and usually, by the time you would even react to a cannon rush, if you get a forged second, you might not always get up defensive cannons in time to be able to defend your mineral line. So in this case, Orange is the one who's going to be doing the cannon rushing, and even though we scout pretty much right away, I scout on 9, I believe, here, I'm not going to see anything over this guy's base, because he ends up going just a standard 4-gate opening. Now, I don't know that just yet because all I can see is his gate and gas, but he doesn't do anything out of the ordinary. Neither does his partner. Another 12 barracks, 14 gas. And then by the time I get over here, you can see that we're basically going to have the forge finishing and 1 cannon going up. So this is essentially the first point in which I tell my partners, hey, there is a cannon rush going on. And you can see he spots it almost right away. So what you really need to do is just try and cancel one of the cannons. He really should have pulled a couple more workers a little bit quicker than that, but unfortunately we didn't really scout it in time to do much about it. So what you need to do is just buy time. Just make sure you can keep the cannons from getting in range of your mineral line. So as a Protoss player, what I'm going to be doing then is going to be chrono boosting out Stalkers as soon as my Cybernetics core finishes. I also chrono boost out my first Zealot because the Zealot's going to make sure that he can put his probes back on minerals and he can keep mining, and then the Zealot as long as you have one zealot attacking a cannon, it won't finish. And what you need to do at this point is just basically just go 4 gate. You shouldn't be doing any other fancy build. I mean, at the very least you should get 3 gates. And I always make sure that I'm spending all my chrono boost on getting stalkers out as quickly as possible. And my macro does slip up shortly hereafter, but once my stalker gets out, I'm going to be able to make sure that they can't finish any more cannons in range of his mineral line. So he's going to end up being able to continue mining. As you can see here, the building keeps continuously losing HP, and one of their players is able to get some stalkers across the map at this point. And even if this was, say, you know, he did a couple barracks instead of putting on some early pressure, as long as you're macroing well. Now this, I should have another 2 gateways by this point in, and also my pylon was a little bit delayed. But as long as you're macroing well and you're kind of chrono boosting out units early to deal with this, you're going to basically keep one partner always mining. So even though he might not be able to contribute much other than the zealot here or there, I'd say you'll more or less be able to defend this. In this case, he should have pulled probes as soon as he started losing a whole bunch. And this guy going a very quick 4 gate was definitely a good opening to do when you have a partner cannon rushing like this, because if the cannons aren't dealt with right away, the cannons basically make sure that he can continually warp in units safely, and that you always have some kind of safe haven to go back to, because cannons are pretty efficient against all units, especially when they're small numbers early in the game like this. So at this point, my partner and I are just trying to spend our money and chrono boosting our gateways, making sure we're getting out enough units. And he does build a couple more cannons in range here, but we're able to more or less cancel these before they really do any damage. But at this point, since both of us were 4 gating, we were able to stop this cannon rush pretty efficiently, especially since he wasn't able to get cannons in the mineral line and do any real economic damage. Sure, our partner lost, you know, a couple probes, but honestly, he isn't exactly a top Masters player like Mark and I are here. I'd say he's only, I believe he's only actually in gold league, so, but either way, we were still able to get a Masters team. We might even be in the top 8 if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully you guys can see at this point that if we take a look across the map, all these players over here really don't have a whole lot of units to defend with at this point. So even if he warps in here, he's always going to be at least 1 warp in behind us. And since our partner is able to keep his economy going at least a little bit, he'll surely be able to assist us in our counter push. And at this point we'll be able to end up counter pushing, finish him off within, you know, it does take a little bit longer. But in most games, if you keep the cannons from getting too close to your mineral line, you'll be able to counter push and kill them off within 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, next game I'll get into is kind of what to do from a Zerg's perspective. This is we kind of looked at what you should do as Terran and Protoss.